We start off with a whole passage question, which of course we should save for the end. But remember that the first step in all of our no reading strategies is to always read the blurb. So why do we do that? Well, it sometimes gives us information about the main idea of the passage. Let's take a look at what this one says. This passage is adapted from How the Web Affects Memory by Harvard Magazine. Okay, How the Web Affects Memory. Now, of course, we're going to read a lot of lines in this passage as we answer all the other questions and all that stuff. But if we just knew the blurb, I think we could pretty much get this answer right. So let's look at these choices. What does it say again? How the web affects memory. Let's write that down. How the web affects memory. So is the main purpose of the passage to describe a series of experiments on the way technology interferes with critical thinking? Well, critical thinking isn't memory, so that's not a great sign. And of course, for other reasons, it's not really a series of experiments, and it's really just not just about technology in general. It's all sorts of things. So this doesn't match with the blurb, but it also doesn't match with the rest of the passage, which we would have read for the other questions. Choice B, assert that people have become overly dependent on computers for storing information. Well, even outside of the passage, that's a kind of phrase that worries me. Overly dependent, very strong phrase. I would want to make sure that I'm supporting that phrase with actual lines from the passage. And that's not really what's going on here. They're not really making this kind of argument. They're talking about similar themes, but that's a different thing than making an argument, right? A lot of science passages just examine a topic, not argue for a specific result or idea or theory. They're just examining, not taking a position. C, discuss the idea that humans' capacity for memory is much weaker than it once was. Well, maybe it's talking about memory, so that's a good sign. But I would need to read the passage to know if they're making a comparison from the past to the present. And if I do, I'm not going to find those things. They're not really coming up with a conclusion about whether it's better or worse. They're kind of like standing on the side and saying, like, we don't know, it could go either way. And so when we look at choice D, that's where we actually end up getting a much weaker, better answer. Share the findings of a study examining the effect of computers on memory recall. So memory is talked about. Examining is kind of a much better word than the choices B or C, which seem to be arguing a specific point, right? This passage brings up a lot of different points and wonders about what the result is, but it's not aggressively arguing for something. And that little difference makes a difference. And so D is the answer here, and I do think that you should obviously read parts of the passage as you do the other questions so that you have the best possible sense of the main idea. But with my experience, I think I would have gotten this question right using only the blurb at the beginning. Just the title of this article was enough for me to be pretty confident that D is right, because I know other things like strong words are usually wrong, and so D is nice and weak, and it's nice and on topic. And hey, look, if you're stuck between two answers and that blurb nudges you in a direction, that's something. That might be 10 points just from reading the blurb. So always read the blurb.